Hello, dear viewers. This is Andre Belli. I invite you to listen to my new story on the channel Strangers Natives. Lyudka, start your car. Ramochka said, "You have a completely empty Saturday today, and we, Zoya, absolutely need to go to Amarant Plaza. Come on, get moving. My lower back won't rub itself with ointment. And walking to the metro is for commoners." Lyuda froze in the hallway with the car keys in her hands. Her mother-in-law stood in the doorway, blocking the light. Margarita Genrikovna possessed the aerodynamics of a good industrial bulldozer and the enthusiasm of a tax inspector who sensed something was wrong. Behind her powerful shoulder loomed the sly Zoya, busily correcting the doti cubes, into which half of the average salary in the region was pumped. Lyudmila slowly turned her gaze to her husband. Roman was sitting on an ottoman in the back of the hallway. He was engrossed in examining the laces on his sneakers, as if for the first time in his life he was mastering the magic of tying knots. He looked as if they sucked out all the air. Rum? Lyuda asked calmly. You know, I was planning to stop by the farmer's store, buy some cottage cheese, and then work on my laptop all day. Lyuda, don't start, her husband mumbled, not taking his eyes off his shoelaces. It's hard for Mom to carry bags. Zoya doesn't even have a car. Your farmer's store is on the way. Just take him there and buy everything there. I want a normal, calm weekend without scandals. Okay, thought Lyuda. No tears, no scandals. Scandals require colossal energy expenditure. But cold calculation pays off instantly. Okay, Margarita Genrikovna, let's go to your Amarant Plaza. Lyuda cheerfully jingled her keys. The entire way to the hypermarket, the atmosphere in the car was reminiscent of a meeting of a visiting complaints commission. Turn here, but where are you going in this row? The mother-in-law commanded, clutching the handle above the door. They don't know how to drive at all. Lyudmila, why does your car smell like some kind of chemical? Normal women use air fresheners that smell like forest pine, but yours smells like a dentist's office. It's the smell of new plastic. Margarita Genrikovna. The car just came out of the showroom. Lyuda replied evenly, smoothly taking the turn. In the back seat, Zoya clicked her tongue, scrolling through her phone feed. Mom, just look. Lenka's off to the Maldives again, and we're dragging ourselves to this plaza like paupers. Lyuda, are you even planning on helping your brother pay off his mortgage? Roma complained yesterday that you can't really live on your income from work. You should combine your budgets, and maybe Mom and I could get away to the seaside. Lyuda ignored this retort. Her brain had already switched to calculator mode. The scenario was painfully familiar. Her mother-in-law and sister-in-law loved organizing joint purchases. The scheme was always primitive, to the point of genius. She filled the communal cart with mountains of delicacies for holidays, birthdays, or simply to boost immunity. And at the checkout, Margarita Genrikovna would suddenly start searching for her wallet, loudly hunting, complaining about her blood pressure, a forgotten PIN, or a suddenly blocked card. So to avoid embarrassing herself in front of her daughter, Lyudmila silently swiped her card at the terminal. But today was a special day. Today, a crystal-clear plan had matured within Lyudmila. The huge automatic gates of the hypermarket slid open, admitting Trinity into a glittering temple of consumption. The air here was permeated with the smells of freshly baked goods, laundry detergent, and the thirst for profit. Margarita Genrikovna strode decisively toward the cart park. She snatched up the largest metal dreadnought designed to supply a small children's camp. "What are you standing there for, empty-handed?" She snapped at the people. "Take the cart, we'll load up. We have Uzoi. It's my name day soon, I need to set the table." Lyuda walked over to a stack of plastic baskets and picked up the smallest one, a 10-liter one. "I don't need much, Margaret Genrikovna. Kefir and cottage cheese. I'm traveling light." Her mother-in-law narrowed her eyes suspiciously, but didn't argue. A huge metal mesh basket, its wheels rattling, rolled toward the produce section. Zoya strode after it, like a model on a catwalk. Only instead of couturier, she was dressed in glamorous Chinese textiles. It started with vegetables. "Look, Lyutka, it's all plastic," she complained, throwing select pink tomatoes into the cart. "Oh, no matter, I like juicy ones. And let's get some avocado. Zoya, you wanted to lose weight. Here, take it." Lyuda nodded without adding a single tomato to her mini basket. Then came the fish section. This was Margarita Genrikovna's favorite territory. She approached the display case, shimmering with crushed ice, and pointed a finger at the glass. "Young man," she barked at the salesman, a man in a waterproof apron who was sadly rearranging pieces of cod. "Cut this salmon into steaks for me, but not the tail. Cut from the middle so the pieces are even. I'm not going to pay for the bones." While the guy at the counter chopped up a huge fish, Nazo busily placed packages of smoked eel and shrimp into a basket. "Oh, Mom, look, the caviar is on sale," Zoya squeaked, pointing a fake nail at a glass jar of premium red caviar. The sale was quite limited. The price had dropped by a few kopecks, but the numbers on the tags glowed a hypnotic yellow. "Take it." Margarita Genrikovna waved her hand regally. "It'll do for sandwiches. Let's take 7 cans at once. Are we beggars, taking one at a time?" 7 heavy cans went to the bottom of the metal cart with a dull clang. Lyuda stood calmly to the side. She took a bottle of low-fat kefir and a pack of farmer's cottage cheese with a transparent expiration date from the refrigerator. She carefully placed them in her plastic basket. 2 positions. Everything is going according to plan. They stood for a long time in the cosmetics department. Zoya suddenly decided that her skin was in dire need of saving. She raked serums, creams with snail mucin, eye patches with colloidal gold, and shampoos for deep cleansing of karma and hair from the shelves. She poured a mountain of cans on top of the salmon and tomatoes. At some point, Margarita Genrikovna's cart blocked the aisle. A sickly middle-aged man was moving towards her. In his own stroller lay a bag of wood coal, skewers, and an impressive piece of pork. "Woman, may I pass?" he said in a deep voice, stopping. Margarita Genrikovna, who was at that moment examining the expiration dates on the elite door blue cheese, didn't even turn her head. "You'll pass when I choose the cheese, not like a tram you'll go around." The man frowned, his hand tightening on the handles of the cart. "It's impossible to go around here. You've parked the cart right across the aisle. Move it." "Young man, you're talking like a lady," the mother-in-law fumed, turning her whole body. Her chin jutted forward menacingly. "Lyudmila, tell him you're standing there like a mute." Lyuda took a step back, clutching the plastic basket of cottage cheese tighter to herself. "The man is absolutely right, Margarita Gendrikovna. You've blocked traffic." The mother-in-law glared, expecting support, but not receiving it, angrily. She yanked the cart toward her. The door blue cheese flew after the caviar. The man with the coal pushed past, eloquently twirling his finger at his temple. "No respect for age," Margarita Genrikovna muttered, breathing heavily. "Well, never mind, we'll pay now and go home." They rolled to the checkout line. It was the hottest time of day, Saturday afternoon. The lines were long, dense, made up of tired, irritated people with full baskets. Margarita Genrikovna chose checkout lane number 4. The cashier, a woman with an inscrutable sphinx face and a Tamara badge, methodically scanned the goods of the previous customer. The line behind Lyudmila was growing rapidly. A student from the energy bank joined him. Behind him, a couple with 2 screaming children. Then some more people, loaded with extras. The customer in front of them paid and left. The conveyor belt cleared. "Come on, lay it out," the mother-in-law commanded the people, nodding at her mountain of groceries. "This is your cart, Margarita Genrikovna," Lyuda retorted calmly. "You collected it, you're unloading it, I don't need someone else's." Her mother-in-law snorted discontentedly, but began unloading her wealth onto the black rubber belt. Salmon, 7 cans of caviar, shrimp, expensive cheeses, cosmetics. The mountain grew, taking up all the available space. Lyudmila waited for the belt to stop. She stepped forward, carefully placed her bottle of kefir, a pack of cottage cheese next to it, and, most importantly, took the plastic shopping divider, the same plastic bar that draws an invisible boundary between other worlds at the checkout, and with a loud thud lowered it between her cottage cheese and her mother-in-law's salmon with a lordly gesture. Margarita Genrikovna blinked in surprise. "What are you doing this for? What do you need a divider for?" "It's for the cashier's convenience," she replied sweetly. Lyuda pulled out her phone and checked her message. A short one came from Roman. "Coming soon? I'm hungry." Lyuda typed out a reply. "Coming soon. Mom's preparing a surprise for you." Tamara began working. The scanner's beeping merged into a single monotonous trill. Can of caviar, peak, salmon, peak. Serum with mucin, peak. The numbers 10,000, 15, 25 scrolled on the small cash register screen. The line behind began to shift from foot to foot. A student nervously tapped a can of energy drink against his thigh. Finally, Tamara scanned the last pack of shrimp. The mountain of delicacies moved to the packaging area. The cashier raised an indifferent gaze to Margarita Genrikovna and said monotonously, "Sivas 38,420 rubles. Card cash." Margarita Genrikovna, standing closest to the terminal, theatrically patted her jacket pockets. Her face took on the expression of a defenseless lamb suddenly finding itself in the midst of a pack of wolves. "Ouch," she said in a thin, broken voice. "Oh, I think I forgot my wallet in the other bag. What a disaster. Zoya, do you have one?" Zoya, playing her role brilliantly in this cheap performance, widened her eyes. "Mommy, what's wrong?" "I told you I have nothing until payday." They both, as if on cue, turned their heads in unison towards the people. Their gazes expressed deep confidence that the reliable ATM named daughter-in-law would sigh, take out her card, and save the day. Lyudmila took a step forward. She looked at the cashier Tamara, then scanned the frozen line. "The only things I have here are kefir and cottage cheese. Everything else is my mother-in-law's products. Let her pay." The words fell on the checkout area like a sledgehammer on glass. The line behind them instantly stopped shifting and turned into full attention. The student stopped knocking on the energy drinks. The mother with her screaming children froze. Tamara stopped her hand from reaching for the divider. Margarita Genrikovna's face began to rapidly change color. First it turned grayish, then pink, and finally acquired the deep, rich shade of an overripe plum. She blushed so much that it seemed like steam was about to rise from her forehead. "What are you talking about?" whispered the mother-in-law, looking around at the audience. "Yes, I have 7 jars of caviar alone. Where am I going to get that kind of money?" Lyudmila didn't lower the volume for a second. "What do you mean where?" she asked, genuinely surprised for the whole store to hear. "In your wallet. You were shouting at the whole fish department that you were a high-status woman. You're not used to saving." Zoya was so worried about her skin that she bought 15,000 worth of creams. "This is all yours, my dear. Get out your card, Margarita Genrikovna. The line is waiting." The man at the very end of the line laughed loudly. "Look, pensioners have come. The daughter-in-law should pay for 7 jars of caviar. Come on, mother, unpack your bins." "Woman, pay or cancel." "My child needs to go to the toilet," the mother of 2 children shouted loudly. Zoya, realizing that the free serum was canceled, tried to save at least would be a face. "Lyuda, are you out of your mind? We're one family. This is for the table. Aren't you ashamed to count pennies in front of people?" Lyuda turned her whole body towards the counter. "Zoenka, 38,000 for delicacies and cosmetics is not pennies. This is my honestly earned budget. And I didn't sign up to sponsor your spa treatments. A family is when everyone contributes, not when 2 people sit on our necks." The third mother-in-law. Choking with rage and humiliation, she clutched her chest. "My heart, I'm going to have a heart attack from such a daughter-in-law. They've warmed the snake." "If I have a heart attack, I'll call an ambulance," Lyuda snapped coldly, taking out her phone. "Should we call or will we make do with Validol? Margarita Genrikovna abruptly lowered her hand from her chest. The heart attack was cancelled due to the lack of audience sympathy. Tamara, at the checkout, having had her fair share of family battles in her professional life, she flicked her fingernail on the countertop. Ladies, decide to cancel the receipt quickly. Decide, and I'll take 2 items to the self-checkout, Lyuda announced. Goodbye. She scooped up her 2 modest purchases from the conveyor belt and turned to her paralyzed relatives. I'll be waiting in the car for exactly 5 minutes. Then I'm leaving. You sort out your seafood yourselves here? Lyudmila walked around the packaging table and headed for the self-checkouts. Behind her, a grandiose picture of bureaucratic hell unfolded. Tamra, sighing heavily, pressed the call button on the checkout and shouted in a hoarse voice across the room. Galia, checkout for, cancel. Margarita Genrikovna stood by the conveyor belt, unable to move under the withering glances of people. The student snorted. A man with coal who approached the next checkout loudly advised, "You, lady, next time, tape your lips before you enter." Lyuda went outside. The autumn air seemed incredibly fresh and delicious to her. She walked to her car, sat in the driver's seat, started the engine, and turned on the radio at a comfortable volume. An absolute zen-like peace reigned within her. No guilt, only the crystalline joy that the parasitic knot had finally been severed. With one blow. Exactly 4 seconds to a minute later, the doors of the shopping center swung open. Margarita Genrikovna and Zoya tumbled out. The mother-in-law did not have huge bags of salmon or boxes of caviar in her hands. She was clutching a single plastic bag. A loaf of sliced bread and a pack of the cheapest buckwheat rolled forlornly around in it. They silently approached the car. Zoya pulled the handle of the back door. Margarita Genrikovna plopped heavily into the front seat. The doors slammed shut. A thick, ringing silence hung in the cabin, broken only by the purring of the radio announcer. The mother-in-law stared straight ahead. Her lips were pressed into a narrow, colorless line. "Fasten your seatbelts," Lyudmila commanded cheerfully, shifting the gearbox into drive. Safety first. The car pulled away smoothly. Margarita Genrikovna was silent the entire way. Zoya, in the back seat, didn't even take out her phone, staring out the window as if she'd been disinherited. When they pulled up to her mother-in-law's house on the outskirts of town, Lyuda parked at the entrance. "We've arrived," she announced. Margarita Genrikovna silently grabbed her bag of bread and buckwheat, opened the door, and also silently walked out. "No thank you, no goodbye." Zoya slid in after her, slamming the door so hard that the frame shook. As soon as they disappeared into the entrance, Lyuda exhaled, turned on her favorite playlist, and drove home. The apartment was quiet. Roman was still sitting in the living room, but now he was playing a console, methodically shooting pixelated monsters. Hearing the front door slam, he paused the game and went out into the hallway. "Oh, they're back. Where's Mom and Zoya?" He stretched, working his aching back. "What did you buy?" "I'm hungry as a wolf." We got the fish. Lyuda took off her jacket, hung it on a hook, and went into the kitchen. She put kefir and cottage cheese on the table. Here, she said simply. Roman stared in bewilderment at the 2 packages on the empty table. And Mom, she said, wanted to get caviar. She asked for salmon. Where is it? Mom changed her mind. Lyuda calmly opened the cabinet and took out a deep bowl for the cottage cheese. It turned out she had no money, and I didn't have my card out. Roman froze. Slowly, creakingly, the meaning of what was said began to dawn on him. His face fell. Wait, did you make a scene at the checkout? You made your mother humiliate herself in front of everyone. Lyudmila, what's wrong with you? We're a family. Were you too stingy to pay? I would have transferred it to you from my next paycheck. Lyudmila put down her spoon. She turned to her husband, leaning her elbows on the counter. There wasn't a hint of aggression in her gaze, only steely, impenetrable logic. Roma, your mother and your sister bought 38,000 rubles worth of groceries and cosmetics. They put it all in front of me at the checkout and claimed they didn't have a penny. This wasn't an accident, it was a scheme they used to milk me like a docile cow. Do I need to remind you how much our mortgage payment is, which we pay off in half? 40,000? So what? My husband tried to object, but his voice sounded uncertain. He could have just told her quietly. Quietly? She doesn't understand. If I had paid it quietly, she would have dragged me there in a week for shrimp. I've set the boundaries. No one was being humiliating. I simply offered to pay for her own purchases. It's usually a sales transaction. If she views having to pay for her salmon as humiliating, that's a question of her worldview, not mine. Roman's phone suddenly came to life in his pocket, vibrating so wildly it seemed it was trying to pierce the fabric of his pants. Roman pulled out the device. His mother's face was lit up on the screen. He glanced guiltily at Lyuda, pressed the answer button, and raised the phone to his ear. A stream of indignant monologue blared from the speaker, even though it was on speakerphone. His mother-in-law was screaming so loudly that every word was audible. She complained about shame, about a heart attack, about selfishness, about Ramochka marrying a toad who begrudged her own mother a piece of fish, and about Zoya now being deprived of vital skin care. Roman listened, his head hunched. He tried to get a word in edgewise. Mom, come on, I'll buy you some fish. Don't cry. Lyuda watched this scene in silence. Then she calmly walked up to her husband, carefully pulled the phone from his fingers, and hung up. Want some fish? Go to the store, buy it yourself, and bring it to Mom, she said evenly, returning the phone to the table. And I've done my Saturday chores. I worked as a taxi driver. For free. I'm not doing charity work anymore. Roman opened his mouth to say something, but looked into his wife's eyes and changed his mind. He knew that look all too well. Arguing with Lyudmila in such a state was about as futile as trying to put out a forest fire with water. He sighed heavily, picked up the car keys from the table, and headed into the hallway. Okay, I'll go buy her at least some chicken, otherwise she'll be driving me nuts until the night before leaving. The front door slammed. Liuda was left alone in the bright, clean kitchen. She opened the kefir, poured it into a smooth-rimmed glass, and broke off a piece of farm-raised cottage cheese. The house was filled with a beautiful, calm silence, worth putting on a little educational show in front of cash register number 4. The system had broken down. The faucet with free delicacies was shut off forever. Liuda took a long sip of cold kefir and smiled. Life was definitely getting better. Thank you all for your attention. This was Andre Beely. Until next time on the channel,